chickens have finally come home to roost. Just a few days ago, we had the PlayStation folk masturbate violently into a frenzy, proclaiming how right they were about consolidation and in particular Xbox Game Pass, and how unsustainable it all was because for some reason the studio Tango Gameworks being shut down was evidence of that narrative. But as these special specimens were twisting themselves into pretzel-like shapes, screaming the word sustainability, Square Enix dropped a bombshell. They basically confirmed that all the efforts of the PlayStation Nation to support the devs weren't enough. Going forward, Square Enix will aggressively pursue a multi-platform strategy that includes Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox. Hardcore PlayStation fanboys have been screaming for months trying to convince the world that timed PlayStation exclusivity was serving gamers and Square Enix as well. But the writing was on the wall. This is the reality of the dwindling Final Fantasy sales on PlayStation. Hey ponies, why didn't you
supporting the devs?
But the reaction to this news has been incredible. I present to you Nib GPT, who was prompted by the stables to leave a dissertation designed to damage control the inadequacy of PlayStation to tender to Square Enix's needs. He even throws Xbox under the bus in his tweet because, well, it wouldn't be a Nibbles dissertation without that, would it? But then in comes a journalist from Bloomberg, no less, Takashi Mochizuki, to shatter Nibbles' colon by confirming that Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth sales fell short of Square Enix's expectations. And that still didn't convince Nibbles, despite the president of Square Enix reportedly saying this. Such sweet nectar.
Supporting the devs.
But no one appears to be hurt by this more than fake insider called Zubie Tech. In this incredible post, you practically taste his tears as he tries to reconcile the news for his own sanity. He starts off with damage controlling, saying that Square Enix are already on PC, so it's no big deal. Then he goes on to talk about how Xbox gamers don't purchase games. And then he talks about the sales of the Xbox console units and why there won't be any return on investment. And then he goes on to say the unannounced Switch 2 will be underpowered, even though nobody knows what the fucking specs. Never mind. You know what, Zubie Tech? He's a good representative of the internal turmoil and all the PlayStation fanboys and what they're going through right now, which has become a bit of a laughing stock lately.
Somebody, Zubie Tech, don't know who this person is, says, to all the PlayStation executives, follow me, please see this. They don't give a fuck about your opinion, mate. I'm just going to warn you right now, they literally...
Bro, like, you really think the executives at PlayStation are like, wait a minute, wait, what's he saying? Okay, let me just go ahead and write this down. Okay, all right, yeah, so we're not going to do that. Okay, got it.
Really couldn't care less about your opinion. He says, Helldivers 2 proves PlayStation should never go day and date with PC. This is extremely clear. Don't know why he's capitalizing the first letter of every word. It's not a YouTube title. Kind of a boomer thing to do.
What's interesting to see is how the PlayStation folk are suddenly pointing fingers at Nintendo and saying the majority of Square Enix's games were already multi-platform, but everyone really knows that it's PlayStation that Square Enix are really cutting ties with, at least as far as their timed exclusivity is concerned. Forbes wrote an article about this fact, but that did not go down well with the stables at all, who besieged poor Paul Tassy for his article, even tried to rally together to add a community note to his tweet. And that wasn't even the worst of it. Check out this special specimen. He says PlayStation 5 owners are now treated like black people in the USA in 1939. He says PlayStation gamers are now second-class gamers, just like black people had to give up their civil rights. We PlayStation gamers have to forfeit our exclusives. Okay. This video would be 13 hours long if I showed you all the insane replies from the PlayStation fanboys I received over this. But here's just a few for us to laugh at. Let's take a look at this guy, who looks like a grown man wearing a school outfit for kids sitting on what looks like a ripped up bin bag. Apparently now, we all like Square Enix games. Because we're just sharing the fact that Square Enix have given up on the pony community. Well, okay. Here we have Christopher Hart, aka Horizontal Man. Triggered by my response so much that he had to do what he does best, damage control. Truth be told, to this day, I haven't even read all of his posts. I just wanted to reply with this image of him. Why would you? Never mind. From being called an Xbox console warrior restart, to being told Final Fantasy is never coming to Xbox again and again, I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy the pain these fanboys were quite obviously feeling as they rushed at me like addicts at a methadone clinic. Whilst all this madness was playing out, Sony then announced it replaced good old Jim Ryan with not one, but two CEOs, Herman Hulst and Hideaki Nishino. Now, how this duo fares remains to be seen, but it's interesting to note that Hiroki Totoki will be keeping a watchful eye on these two. Part of the earnings call also revealed that PlayStation sales were down 29% year over year, and poor innocent journalist Tom Warren was set upon by the rabid fanbase for just simply sharing this fact. Now, remember, if there's something ponies love more than hentai and single-player Satan games, it's sales figures, so their reaction to any kind of reporting with any negative elements of this, well, whatever, the reaction is predictable. What I find really ironic is that the PlayStation community are heralding Helldivers 2 and its impressive sales figures of over 12 million sales. It's ironic because firstly, this is the same fanbase that has scoffed at multiplayer experiences, particularly gas games, for years. Secondly, it's the PC crowd that by and large actually carried the sales in a great majority than the PlayStation crowd, who routinely mock PC gamers for not buying games. Yet here we are. PC gamers have carried PlayStation on its back and helped this become the fastest selling PlayStation game ever. Nibbles describes this game as a PlayStation exclusive. Now listen to how Sony describes the game.
The game has become our biggest PC hit title to date, and as a multi-platform title.
Thirdly, Sony are obviously going to look at this and do what the PlayStation crowd absolutely revile, and that is double down on gas games. Only the most blinkered of fools are in denial about this, but believe me, they exist. And if you don't believe me, have a listen for yourself.
Following this success, we are looking forward to the release of live service games.
Finally, the thing that the PlayStation crowd are really terrified of is something that just appears to be an inevitability. Day and date releases on PC. Some try and put a brave face on it, but the facade is thinly veiled. Sony, on the other hand, isn't shy about its intentions. It's coming, and deep down, they know it. I mean, take a look at this incredible reply to the newly appointed CEO, Herman Hulst. He can't even catch a break. Mr. Positive is not living up to his name here. He essentially threatens the new CEO about pissing off console players. PC support has left a sour taste in his mouth. I think the sour taste in his mouth is more likely attributed to the time he was deep-throating the failure that was Quantum Error, purely because the developers were console warring in favor of PlayStation. Pepperidge Farm remembers. And to end this video, let's just talk about engagement. Now, PlayStation fanboys, I know you hate that word. Just like this simple little chap here. Here he is calling people numpties because they choose to use engagement over sales. So he must be really having an existential crisis when the corporation he worships on the daily announces that it has shifted from game sales to engagement. I'm sure he must be livid. Let's take a look at... no, he's just wanking off to the power duo. Lovely, Willie. The industry is changing whether we like it or not. The Xbox and PlayStation that we know of are also changing, and some people will not like those changes. Some, however, will fight and deny this in the face of overwhelming evidence. But you shouldn't mock them because, well, you should let me do it. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on that sweet and sour sauce.